Hi everybody, and welcome to Microsoft PowerPoint. Now PowerPoint, if you haven't already discovered, is a presentation program, more of a kind of like a digital presentation type program. So you can actually create slideshows for pretty much any event. Some people think of maybe just doing a presentation for some big meeting or anything like that. But I would suggest that anytime that you have a get-together with a number of people, that you put together a presentation. It could be maybe just a few slides. It gives your attendees something to kind of take away. Something that's presented graphically to them, they seem to remember much more clearly than just sitting there and verbally exchanging. So let's start out just looking at PowerPoint's overall program window and screen components, and just kind of get familiar with what we're looking at here. So it's a pretty simple interface. I have a presentation already displaying here. What you see over here on the right hand side is the actual slide, and we're actually in the first slide, as you can see here. And this is where you would go to make changes. This would be I guess the more popular way of making changes to the slide would be in that area. So you've got your navigation over on the side here that allows us to go from each slide just kind of like that. You can also just kind of point in this area here, and using your down wheel on your mouse, you can kind of wheel down or wheel back up again, just like that. And you can kind of go to each of your slides to make changes or do whatever you need to do. You can also go over here on the side and right on the border here, drag this out and make this bigger so that you can read what you see here much better, and you can actually target, oh yeah, I want to go to this one here, and then be able to work on that. But that's up to you how you want to set that up. You can make it pretty small as well, going the other way as well. So now along the top you have the ribbon, pretty much a fancy toolbar. And as you click on this home tab, this entire ribbon that you see here is dedicated to home. You click on insert, same thing, and so forth. Pretty simple layout, not very crowded, so it's pretty easy to get in there and kind of figure out what you need to click onto and kind of go from there. All right, now you can actually, click onto a slide from here, and let's say that you, for some reason, wanted to zoom in a little bit on this area here. What you can do is down here on our zoom bar, we can actually click on that little plus down there, and that'll zoom you in. You can also, and this is just a common Windows command, you can actually take your mouse and kind of point to an area, hold down your control key, and as you wheel down, it zooms in, and as you wheel up, it zooms in. As you wheel down, it zooms out. And what I like about this as well is because if you zoom in pretty far like that and you say, okay, now I want to get back to seeing the whole slide, you can actually, down here at the very bottom right hand corner, you can actually click onto that button there, and that will zoom you right back out again. Now if you're zoomed in, let's say, we'll zoom here just a little bit here so you can see this. Let's say you're zoomed in. You can actually use the scrolling arrow here, the elevator we've got here, and kind of go to another slide just like that if you wanted to. Because if you're going to be using your wheel, let's say on your mouse, you're not going to be able to go from page to page because you're just kind of zoomed in there. All right. So this is a good way of doing it. And also too, you got so many different ways here. You can also use this little up arrow here to go to the previous slide, or back down here again, but it'll maintain whatever zoom you're at right now, okay? But if you're, let's say, on that page there, I can kind of just use my wheel to go along like that, or go back up again. I can also go over to my slides over here and click onto one of them and have that same zoom, but on that particular slide. And then again, go back down to the bottom right here, and click on the fit slide to current window, as they call it. Click onto that, it zooms you right back out again. And then you can use your wheel down, wheel up to go back and forth. Use your up scrolling arrow to go up a slide, or this one to go down a slide. And of course, this one here goes up a slide, goes down a slide, everywhere. I mean, we've got so many different ways of navigating that way. Now, the view that we're looking at currently is what we call the normal view. And we happen to be on the View tab here. And you can see how the normal, as far as the presentation views are, the normal one's selected. Now, down here at the bottom is another way to navigate between those different views as well. Now, if you go down there and we kind of point to the normal view, which we're already on, if I click onto that one time, it actually then shows me my notes as well. Now, we're going to be talking about this later on, but this allows you to put notes for each one of your slides that you can then later use while you're presenting, almost like little cue cards or like a teleprompter almost, right? The audience doesn't see it, you just see it yourself. So you can use the notes for, for presenting, and you can also use the notes to kind of remind you of what you want to put onto each of your slides. Let's say you're kind of preparing for it. Now, if you don't really need to see that at the moment, then what you can do is you can go back here where it says Notes, click onto that, and then that goes away. All right. Now, another view that we have is what we call the slide sorter. That's this one right here. If you click onto that, which is the same thing as clicking onto here, it gives you the slide sorter view. What's nice about this, it makes it really easy to see most of your presentation. I mean, obviously you might have a lot more slides than this, but let's just see a lot more at a time versus seeing it like this and seeing the slides over here on the side. So you see a lot more this way. And while we're in this mode, we can also take a particular slide, kind of point to it like this, drag it over like this, and we can actually move it around. We can take this one here, put it right back again, put it back to where it was. Now, keep in mind, I'm going to go back to the normal view. You can also do that here. I can take this slide here and drag it down like that and do the same thing. It's just that you've got more slides that you're seeing at once. It makes it a little bit easier to say, oh, I want to take this slide here, move it up here, or take this one and move it down there. It also makes it easy to go in and, let's say, do a right click on a particular slide and tell it that you want to duplicate that slide. I can click onto that and it makes a duplicate. So just in case maybe you've got a particular slide that initially you thought would be just one slide, but maybe you're going to kind of break it up a little bit, maybe remove a few things from here and remove a few things from here and have it kind of split up between the two slides. You can also do the same thing if you're in the normal view. I could be back here. I can take maybe this one right here, do a right click on it, duplicate slide, and I've got a duplicate that way as well. I can also delete slides simply by just clicking onto it like that, doing a right click and telling I want to delete it, or I can also click onto it and just hit the delete key. So I can go over here like this, hit the delete key, and it goes away as well. And I can do it again here, or I can do it also in the slide sorter as well. Now, another view that we have, I'm going to go back to the normal view again. Another view that we have is where we can go into what we call outline view. Now, the way we do this is we kind of point to the normal view button, click onto it. The first time we click it, it'll display the notes as we saw before. But when I click onto it again, then it turns this into an outline. So what this is good for, it makes it easy to be able to read the content. You don't see the graphics in here, but the content, anything textual that you have in here, you'll be able to read it and you'll be able to see it on, as more than one slide at a time, like you normally would over here. And you can go in there and you can add additional lines and so forth. We'll be doing that in later videos. I just want to give you a sense of what you can do here at the time. So you've got that. Now, if you go back and click onto the normal view again, then it goes back to there. And then if you want to turn off the notes, you've got that. Now, another one of our views that we have is what we call the reading view. Okay, and this is primarily just for reading. It makes it where we don't have a lot of distractions. We just pretty much just see the slide itself. So if we go ahead and click onto that right now, it takes us right into there. Okay. It's almost like you're in a presentation view, like you're actually running your slideshow in here. So you can't really do any editing. It's more of just seeing what you've got, on each slide. And you can advance the slide, to the next slide just by pointing anywhere on the slide here and clicking it, and it goes on to the next slide. You can also use your up arrow, or I'm sorry, your up wheel, on your mouse to go to the previous. As you can see, the numbering down there, advance or declining. And then I can use my wheel down to advance. Okay, so I can do it like that. I can also go down here and hit my left arrow to go to the previous and go to the next one. So again, this is almost like you running the slideshow, but it just kind of gives you a sense of what you have on each one of your slides, and you can just kind of go through that just like that. It's pretty cool. Now to get out of this view, all you really have to do is just go and pick a different view. So I'll just go back to the normal view down here, and that takes me right back in, or back to where I was. Now the last view that we have is actually called the slideshow view, and this is actually what you would click onto if you wanted to then present your presentation, actually conduct it. And the way you do that is you go down here and you click onto this guy right here. Now what this will do is if you click it there, from this button here, it starts from wherever you're at. So if you're maybe on this slide right here, okay, and you go and you click onto that, it's actually going to launch starting with this slide, okay. If you wanted to actually see it, from the first slide, you can either, click onto the first slide first, or what you can do is go up here to the slideshow tab here and tell it from beginning versus the from current slide, which is what that one does. See? So I click onto here, then it just starts it right up. So there's your first slide, all right, and then as you click your mouse, it actually does this. Now, if you're running your presentation from, let's say your laptop or something like that, what will actually happen, and of course as I'm doing this video, when I hit my pause button on my video as I'm recording here, that screen went away. So I'm just going to go back and just hit resume right here, and that'll take me back in there again. But what normally happens though, when you are actually doing a presentation, this screen that you're seeing right now will actually be the one that gets projected, from your projector. But on your side, when you're looking at your actual computer screen, you're actually going to see this. Let me just kind of show it to you here. You'll actually see this window pop up, see? And what's kind of interesting about this one is that this is actually kind of like your little cockpit. So while you're looking at this here, the audience is seeing what we saw previously on the display, through your projector. And what's really neat about all of this is that this allows you to see currently what the slide is that we're projecting right now, and this is showing the next slide coming up. And then over here, the notes that you might have put on each one of your slides will be here for you to kind of read off of to kind of help you along in making your presentation. But it's pretty cool stuff there. But that's about it. I'm going to go ahead and hit the escape key, and that'll kind of get me out of all that. But that's all you have to do there. But we'll be talking about all that stuff in later videos. I'm just trying to give you an overall idea of what's going on with the program and the things that you can work with here. Now another area I want to kind of show you here has to do with just the overall tools we have on our screen for doing some of our editing. And what kind of bothers me about all of this is that these things are all turned off, right? So you have to know to turn them on so that you're able to be able to use them. So in this case, if we go over here to the View tab, all right, there's these three items here. So the first one is the ruler. Now, if you click onto that, you'll get the ruler in here. And this is good for just getting an idea of the size of your slide and all that. That's one thing. But later on, when you're doing bulleting and things like that, you can actually specify exactly where you want the bullet to be appearing and how much distance you want between the bullet and the text and things like that, and for other tabbing type purposes. So this is a good thing to have up on your screen there. Now another thing that's kind of optional would be the grid lines. If you click on the grid lines, it kind of gives you this like grid that you can kind of work off of. A lot of people like to see something like that, especially when they're working with graphics and things like that. It gives them a better sense of lining things up and so forth, even though we have a lot of tools in here that help us with that without really the need of having these things. But if you feel more comforted having the grid lines in there, go ahead. Now another thing we have is something called the guides, and I don't know, this is kind of an old-fashioned tool. I mean, we've had something like this since the beginning of time, I think. But when you click onto that, what it does is it gives you this little crosshair almost, and what you can actually do is adjust this to whatever position you want it to be, and that way it gives you a sense of where you might need to line things up and so forth. So it's just I think it's kind of like a backup of what we have for the grid lines in the background there. So it's just a way of kind of setting up where you want to maybe, if you do something like this, you can say, okay, now that is what I want to see there. And then of course, when you go to another slide, you're going to have those guides in the same position, so you'll know that that's where you want to drag your title to. Your title needs to fit perfectly in that area right there. And that way, as you go from slide to slide, you'll have it in exactly the same position each time. So we'll be using that as well, later on in other videos when we're kind of developing our slides and so forth. But just to give you an idea of some of the things that you might want to have displayed in order to enhance your editing powers, right? Okay, so most of the settings, the overall program settings that we have, I think are pretty much ones that you want to keep. I don't think you want to do much changing to them, but I want to just kind of show you one thing that you might want to turn on to keep things going well in the presentation world, I guess, right? So if you go over into the File tab here, which is what we call our backstage, and we go down into the Options area, this would be the area that we would go to make any of the default or personalized settings that you want to do here. Now, in the general type settings, I got one little minor thing here, not a big deal, but where it says Office Theme and Office Background there, if we kind of change the Office background, let's say to School Supplies, all right, I'll just do something like that. Let me just show you here. Hit OK, all right. I don't know, you can see kind of like these little graphics up here at the top here. Not a big thing, but it just gives you a little bit of spunk, I guess. I'm going to go back in there again and go back in the options. Now, the other thing they have on here is the Office theme, and it's being set for colorful. That's the overall coloring that you see here. Now, don't fall over or anything, but look at all of the choices we have here. So we have the dark gray look. All right, so if I did the dark gray, hit OK, you get something like that. All right. So if you're having problems with your eyes, when you're viewing things for a long time, this might be a better way of looking at your presentation. All right. It doesn't change the overall coloring, when you go to present it or anything like that. It's just for you as you're viewing it. Now, if I go back in there again, back into options, and I change that, let's say, to black, all right, then we'll hit OK there. That even goes even darker, much more contrast. Might be something that you'd like to maybe stare at longer than the other way. All right, and I'll go back in there again, go back to File, back down to Options, and then I can change from black to white. There's going to be complete opposite here now. You got something like that. That almost makes you go snowblind after a while. So I think what you'll probably find if you're kind of messing with this on your own, that if you don't have any trouble with your eyes or whatever, you probably just want to kind of set it up for just being colorful. See, and then you'll have that type of look there. Now I'll go back in there again, and I guess I kind of said I wasn't going to tell you to change any of this stuff, but there are a few things that you might want to. Now if you go over to the proofing, I think the way this is set up is just fine. I like this idea down here as far as the spell check as you're typing. You get that little underlined red, and you can also have it where it will mark your grammar errors as well. The grammar usually comes in like in green underline, and I've got another one here too for the frequently confused words. You can click onto that one, And this might be where, you know, you've got words that sound the same, they're spelled in different ways and so forth. So this will have a better chance of checking you. So kind of like with the grammar, where if you were to say, like, I went to the store, and you typed in T-O-O instead of to, the grammar kind of picks up on that. You're going to get other situations with the frequently confused words, such as maybe like whether or not you're going to be using the word dessert with two S's versus desert with one S, and it's going to kind of, you know, give you a sense of maybe it kind of knows which one you meant, and it'll at least offer you a choice of changing it. So it can't hurt to have the thing turned on. There's another area here called the autocorrect options, and we're going to be talking about that later on in other videos. So I'm going to leave that one alone right now, but that's another one that we might want to take a look at as well. The next one here I want to take a look at here is the save, all right? And here's where it does the auto recover every 10 minutes. So what's happening is, as you're, and this works with all the other Office programs as well, every 10 minutes it automatically saves your work, but it doesn't save it as a regular file. It saves it kind of like as a temporary file. So that way, if let's say all of a sudden your machine just kind of went dead and it just crashed on you, the next time you got into PowerPoint, it would bring up that temporary file that it had saved every 10 minutes. And that way, at least you could click onto it and at least probably have no more than having lost 10 minutes worth of work, or because it's saving it every 10 minutes. So that's kind of neat. So if you wanted to change that to 5 minutes or 2 minutes, that's up to you, depending on how, how bad your computer is. Now, the big thing I wanted to show you on this screen as well is down here at the bottom where it says Embed Fonts in File. Now, what this does is, let's say you're using some pretty off-the-wall fonts that maybe you purchased from somewhere that aren't available maybe on other people's machines. In other words, they're very special fonts. Well, if you're using those in your presentation, and then let's say you're sharing your presentation file on the cloud or whatever, and other people are working on it, they're not going to see those fonts. It will default back to like a Times Roman or Courier, not Courier, but some of the other ones that you have there, like the Calibri or what have you, but or Arial. It'll default back to those, all right? So if you want to maintain that what as they call the fidelity of the presentation, then you definitely would want to put that check mark in there, and then that way it's all set up. But the other thing you might want to do too is go with this choice here, and this allows it so where when people are maybe adding to a particular area, they'll still be able, as they're typing, it'll still come in as that font. You might not get that happening like this here, all right? So this would probably be the way that you want to set that up, okay? That's about it. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and hit OK on that. That'll just take us back out of there again. So not a lot of stuff, but I think some of the more important stuff we covered there, and I think that's something that maybe you can consider using or changing, what have you. I got one last thing to show you, and this is over in the View tab here. We have a way of changing or removing the coloring from your entire presentation. Now, the only problem with the presentation I have right here is pretty much a black and white presentation to begin with. But just to give you a sense of what it will do for you, let's say I'll go to maybe this slide here. It has a little bit of color or whatever. But if I go and I change it from being color to grayscale, all right, I get something like that. Now you're looking at that and you're saying, Chip, it's not doing anything. And I say, I'm with you. It changed this part here, but that's about it. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back. I'm going to go and I'm going to bring in another presentation. Just a very simple one here. And just bring it up like this. All right. And so this one has a little bit more color to it. So my point is that what we can do is we go over here to View, all right, and go over here to change from color to grayscale. Then you get something like that. That's pretty cool, all right. So, and of course, pretty good little tool there. But the they kind of flipped over. Let me just pull that back up to the front here. Okay, so that's what that does. Now if I hit the back to color, it goes back to there. If I go back into view and go with, let's say, the black and white, then that's a little bit more just plain old black and white, not grayscaled out. Now, of course, when you go to present it, it's not going to present like this. You can tell it when you go to do your presentation that you want it to be in either the black and white or the grayscale as well. But this is just to give you a sense of what it's going to look like if you were to make it a, again, shades of gray or black and white type presentation. Okay, so that's all I've got for you now. So that should wrap up this particular video. But I wanted just to kind of show you just overall what you have here. And on the next bunch of videos that we're going to be doing here, we're going to be covering pretty much every aspect of the program. So you're going to get some really good information here, and you're going to become like a power user of the program. So I appreciate you watching, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.